And welcome everyone to Beyond the Forecast. We are on Mackinac Island. As we told you a few episodes back that we were doing something special, well, Mackinac Island is opening today, Friday, May 2nd. Although we were shooting this on May 1st because we had to get here and shoot some segments first. But we're at Mission Point Resort, and absolutely gorgeous resort on what is, kind of a gray, rainy day, but it is going to be much nicer as we head into tomorrow, which is the opening day, which is today technically. So put that all aside, we are going to share with you today some crazy, awesome facts about Mackinac Island, but we're also going to give you some of the island weather science that goes along with Mackinac Island. So first up is going to be meteorologist John Gross. He is going to tell you about lake breezes and just how much of an impact they are on the island life, but also how they impact or may not impact you inland for those areas. So living in the big lakes, lake breezes are huge and they can lead to storm formation, but they can also lead to big temperature ranges across the Great Lakes. And then I am going to take you into something that seems like a magic trick. It's called Fata Morgana. So yes, you heard me right. What it is and how it works. I'll explain that to you. And just to kind of reference SpongeBob, the Flying Dutchman, believe it or not, that whole story of the Flying Dutchman comes from this particular item. So Fata Morgana, and we'll explain exactly what that is and how it impacts the Great Lakes and how cool it is with temperature inversions. And then, if we have time, we'll take you into another podcast segment coming up at the end of the show. But as we always do on Beyond the Forecast, let's get into some of the fun things here at the beginning of the show. So this day in weather history. On this day, back on May 2nd, 1899, Havre, Montana got 24.8 inches of snow. That is the water equivalent of 2.5 inches, which was a record 24-hour total for the month of May. Can you imagine May 2nd getting 25 inches of snow? That's pretty wild. So that happened this day, back in weather history, 1899. All right, trivia time. Now, yesterday we asked you, true or false, large and heavy vehicles such as SUVs and pickups are safe to drive through floodwaters. That's false. No vehicles are safe to drive through floodwaters. So if you answered false, congratulations. Today, another true or false question. We want to ask you, are clouds really light? True or false? Hit the QR code right here. That QR code, it'll take you to where you can answer and let us know, are clouds really light, true or false? And we'll have the answer back at the station on Monday. All right, so get your answers in. All right, now viewer photo of the day brought to you by Great Rooms, and thank you Great Rooms as always for sponsoring these. This picture fitting as we're on Mackinac Island, and why not have a wonderful photo of a freighter in Lake Huron. This picture was sent in from Nikki Rickle, and it is titled "Beautiful Colors of Lake Huron." And check out that freighter and the colors of Lake Huron. That's another thing very weather related. You get all the different colors of the lake depending on the angle of sunshine and the depth of water and the bending of the light rays. So thank you, Nikki, for sending in that wonderful photo, and thank you to Great Rooms for sponsoring that segment. All right, now listen, we are on Mackinac Island, so what better thing to do than to give you 10 fun facts of Mackinac Island, because, we got to do that, right? Mackinac Island State Park was the country's second national park. In fact, that is what they are celebrating here throughout much of the summer. It's 150 years of the Fort Mackinac, as it is from the 1890s, but that was when the nation created the second national park. It's Mackinac Island, believe it or not. Mackinac Island is the scene of historic medical breakthroughs. This is a weird one, but believe it or not, the father of gastric physiology started his unique medical journey right here on Mackinac Island. No joke. And there's a big, long story with it, and we're not going to get into it here on Beyond the Forecast, but if you want it, you can always head to MackinacIsland.org and read up on that story. But yeah, believe it or not, the father of gastric physiology started right here on Mackinac Island. Mackinac Island uses 10 tons of Michigan sugar per week. Hey, fudge, right? Uses a lot of sugar. Mackinac Island is the home of the world's largest covered porch, the Grand Hotel. If you ever get the opportunity to come to Mackinac Island, check out that porch, world record. It is covered and it is extremely long, 660 feet long to be exact. Pretty cool. Mackinac Island has about 500 full-time residents. We've talked about this on other shows that I've had, where they actually live here year-round, go to school. They even have an esports team, but Mackinac Island has those residents. And something that's really cool is, yes, we're here on Thursday giving you the Friday show, but it's cool to catch up with everyone before the visitors get here and just see how this island operates before tourism moves in. So pretty cool. Didn't think about how many people live here, but it's about 500. Mackinac Island means place of the great turtle, believe it or not, the Native American meaning back in the day. Over 82% of Mackinac Island is state park. And then Mackinac Island has 1,400 bikes for rent. Josh, did you rent a bike? Josh is behind the camera for me today. That's actually one thing I haven't done. Maybe I'll do that this year before we leave. Mackinac Island was a center of the fur trade. One big thing, big economic push back in the days. And then bonus fact, we can't officially track how many people travel to Mackinac Island, but it's said that over 1 million people visit each year. That is a lot of people coming to Mackinac Island. The jewel of northern Michigan, would you say? Well, it is fun, that is for sure. And we're gonna have more fun facts for you, but again, MackinacIsland.org, you can check those all out. So again, from Mission Point Resort, we're going to send it over to meteorologist John Gross, and he's going to give you all the explanations of lake breezes and how they impact island life, but also how they impact the lower peninsula, especially if you live inland. We'll have all those details right after the break.
Hey there, everybody. Meteorologist John Gross, and today we are going to be talking about a topic that you probably have encountered, whether you knew it or not. If it was a lake day, if it was a beach day, if you were heading off to the lake, if you were heading off to the ocean, wherever you might have been going to enjoy some time enjoying the water during the warmer times that we get during the spring or even into the summer, as we're now getting towards that time frame here in northern Michigan. And then you might have gotten out of the car and thought, wow, it's a lot colder here, versus when you got in the car going to wherever you might have been from your house, let's just say 10, 15, or even 20 or 30 miles inland away from whatever body of water you were going to visit. That's what we call a lake breeze. That's what we call a sea breeze. That's even what we call an ocean breeze. So let's go ahead and talk about the science behind it. Now, let's go ahead and start with your temperature over land and your temperature over the body of water. Let's focus on the lake because we're surrounded by Lake Michigan, Lake Superior, even Lake Huron here in Michigan, at least in northern Michigan. So let's go ahead and start with our numbers pretty close to one another. A degree or two, give or take, that's where we start. Now, as we're starting to get into the afternoon hours, we're starting to warm the atmosphere. Now, we've got sunshine out, peak heating hours of the afternoon. Case in point, when you're going into the afternoon hours, that peak heating time, your land is going to warm a lot quicker as you're going into the afternoon hours, early evening hours, especially if you're talking about a high sun angle, if you're talking about a mostly sunny day. Those temperatures, as you're going farther inland, they're going to climb a lot quicker versus temperatures over a body of water. It takes a lot more time to warm up a body of water. You can do it, but it's going to take days. It's even going to take weeks to get numbers as warm as what we have our land in a day versus what we're going to take to get the water to that same temperature, probably over several days, if not even several weeks. So now, the main takeaway here is our land warming a lot quicker than our temperatures over our lake. So now we've got the numbers almost a 10-degree difference. 10 plus degree difference in some instances, depending on how strong our lake breeze is going to be. Or again, even the sea breeze or an ocean breeze. So now we have to go back to what we know about warm air versus cold air. Remember, the warmer air, it's more buoyant. It wants to freely rise throughout the atmosphere. So that rising warm air is going to start to pull in the colder air over our lake. Remember, that warmer air, here it is, you're warming the land, it's freely rising, so now we have to replace that air from somewhere. Guess where it's going to come from? Your air over the lake. So now that air, it's a lot cooler. And depending on how far, we'll just say our lake breeze gets, that's how cool or colder your temperatures right near the immediate lake shore could be. And it could be a difference of 10 to 15 to even near 20 degrees in some instances. So during the afternoon hours, especially again during the spring, if not even the summer months, that's how we get our lake breezes to set up, or at least develop. Let's look at this from a storm perspective. We were talking about severe weather. Time and time again, especially during Severe Weather Awareness Week, we've got that warmer air. It likes to rise freely. It's more buoyant. And once we start to have enough moisture, we have all the other ingredients ready, that's going to be a lifting mechanism. We're starting to move that warmer air farther inland with our sea breeze. So now we've created a boundary, and depending on how far inland our sea breeze gets, or at least our lake breeze gets, that again is going to help to just continue to build that warmer air up into the atmosphere. And that's how we can see pop-up showers. That's how we can see pop-up thunderstorms develop. But remember, if you're closer to the water, it's a lot colder. And our colder air, remember, that's more dense. It likes to sink because it's heavier compared to warmer air. So now it's less favorable. You've got what's called more of a stable environment over our lake. So you're probably not even talking about little, if any, cloud cover over the water. But if you look farther inland, especially during the peak heating hours of the afternoon, that's when you can talk about clouds developing. That's when you can talk about showers, even thunderstorms potentially popping. And last but not least, when you're talking about the temperature, we kind of touched on this already, but as you're starting to see that warmer air rise, again, warmer air, it's more buoyant, it likes to freely rise, and once you have that warmer air rising, you have to replace that air with somewhere, and guess where it's coming from? Your air over the lake. And that air, while still generally warm, it is cooler. In this scenario, we've got temperatures at 93 versus 86. So that's almost a good 10-degree difference. And your temperatures, again, are going to be cooler right near the immediate lake shore. So we've been talking about the lake breeze. I know it says sea breeze, but lake breeze keeps your coast or our lake shore cooler than your inland areas. That's during the afternoon peak heating. Remember how we also talked about land warming a lot quicker than water? The same is what you can say when you're talking about overnight temperatures. When you get a lot colder at night, not only does the land warm very quickly, it cools very, very quickly. So you can have the opposite effect at night. You can have temperatures actually warmer near the immediate lake shore versus going farther inland at night. Temperatures can get a lot colder if you're farther away from that lake shore versus if you're talking about temperatures closer to the immediate lake shore. Now, again, that's going to depend on the actual temperature of what is over our lake, but usually when you're talking about nighttime temperatures, numbers over land are colder versus your lake shore. During the peak heating hours of the afternoon, temperatures are warmer over land versus the lake shore. And that is what we call a lake breeze. I'm meteorologist John Gross reporting for Beyond the Forecast.
Thanks, John. Now, coming up next, I'm going to tell you about Fata Morgana, and that has to do with not magic, but mirages, and how it impacts everyone here around the Great Lakes, but also around the world. One of those details right after the break.
And welcome back, everyone, to Beyond the Forecast. Now, I have a special segment for you that's talking about something that seems like a magic trick. And believe it or not, it was named after a magic trick because it seems like a magic trick. It's the mirages that you see with temperature inversions. It's called Fata Morgana. Now, it is kind of tough to say, but this is actually really cool because we get it quite a bit in the Great Lakes. And like I hinted at the top of the show, if you've watched SpongeBob and have heard the Flying Dutchman or the story of the Flying Dutchman in general, well, that comes from Fata Morgana. So Fata Morgana is a complex form of superior mirages which is visible in a narrow band right above the horizon. Now, how this happens is temperature inversion. So temperature inversion, quite simply put, is when you have colder air at the surface, warmer air above it, and then cooler air above that. So the warmer air is kind of a buffer zone, but it can't rise anymore because it's capped by colder air. So you have that warmer air over the colder air, and it's bending light. So, for example, the picture that you'll see here is seeing Milwaukee from Muskegon. That shouldn't be possible on a normal day, and it's not because of the curvature of the Earth. It's about 45 miles away there. But when you have the light rays bending through that temperature inversion, it actually creates a mirage of that area right there and puts it in the sky, or kind of looks like it's on the horizon. And that's what Fata Morgana is. You see this all over the Great Lakes, but you also see it on the oceans, you can see it in the desert, and you can also even see it on a long stretch of roadway where you have that warmer air rising. Those mirages give you things like a freighter, looks like it's flying in the sky, the Flying Dutchman, if you will. It gives you the look as if a city is actually floating on the water, but it's not. It's actually risen above because the bending of those rays are making the image seem like it's popping up. Take example Buffalo. You can see Toronto from Buffalo, and that is about 30 so miles away. And the reason you can see it, or it looks like the water level is right there, is because of Fata Morgana. It's just a fun word to say, but it's also really cool because it's weather related and science. So the next time you ever get the opportunity and you know that there's a marine layer, or that warm air just above colder water levels, well, check to see if you can see any of that mirages, or the superior mirage going on, or Fata Morgana. Try it sometime. There's a lot of things that you can catch on the Great Lakes that you might say, what is that? In fact, we just had a video or a photo that I saw on Facebook from Traverse City that someone's like, can you explain this? And yes, it was Fata Morgana. And I told them I would be explaining it on the show today. So there you go. A little fun fact for you. A little weather, a little science. But yeah, it's pretty cool to see what temperature inversions can do to things around big bodies of water, or even just warm surfaces. So there you go. Next time you see something that looks like craziness over the lakes, more than likely it's a mirage because of temperature inversion and bending of the light rays. Pretty cool. We'll be right back with the last segment of Beyond the Forecast. Don't go anywhere. And welcome back, everyone, to Beyond the Forecast. Thank you for hanging out with us today. I do appreciate it. But before we go, we're going to dive into another segment of our podcast, Beyond the Forecast podcast, that is live streamed every Tuesday at 10 o'clock in the morning. Me and meteorologist Haley Fischetti talk about a topic that either you have picked, or if we have something special that we're focusing on that week, we talk about that topic. So this one is from when we were talking about Earth Day, as well as carbon footprint, as well as a little bit of climate. So check it out.
And that is something that impacts the ecosystem in the Great Lakes quite a bit, not only with fish and species that live in the water, but also for humans.
Right.
You can't really swim in that. It's not good for you. So you take a look at things like Lake Erie and Saginaw Bay, and a lot of these bays that over the years have been the spots that tend to see those algae blooms. And yeah, they're not in the best shape. But Mother Nature will find a way to correct that down the course. But the problem is, why is this happening so fast? That is always the giant question, is why is that happening so fast?
I agree.
Electric vehicles are not the answer. They're a solution, short-term solution for some people. There's a double-edged sword to everything.
We're kind of putting Band-Aids on a bunch of wounds.
Correct. It's like, oh, here's one, put that one on, put that on. Electric vehicles are great because they don't put
as much
in the atmosphere. They don't put the emissions in there, but at the same time, look at what runs those cars. Now, in 20 years when those cars are dead, you have lithium battery packs and the sludge that goes with it. Like everything to make these are
research of lithium batteries you could get into, of how much do we actually know what could help.
How do we take care of them?
Windmills,
they are a great source of power and energy, but the problem is that whole turbine is not recyclable.
Right.
What do? You have to bury the blades. You have to do the motor case. You have to bury the motor casing. There's things that you have to bury. So there's never a 100% way of doing it on a mass scale. Yes, on a small scale, there's a 100% way of doing
100%.
it. Mass scale, it is just not feasible.
No.
So don't forget, you can always catch those on the 910 News YouTube channel, or wherever you get your podcasts, and we will continue to have those living on the Facebook channels as well as YouTube channels as we continue on with Beyond the Forecast. But for the very special edition of Beyond the Forecast from Mackinac Island, my huge thank you to Mission Point Resort, which is just an absolutely gorgeous place. If you ever come to Mackinac Island, make sure you guys check it out. It is absolutely beautiful. And thank you to Mackinac Tourism Bureau for just giving us the overhaul look and just how amazing this island operates as it opens up. So for meteorologist John Gross, meteorologist Haley Fischetti, I am Chief Meteorologist Michael Stevens. We'll be back on Monday in the studio. But for now, from Mackinac Island, be good, stay safe, take care. We'll see you all on Monday. Bye, everybody.